His commitment to excellence. We are live. Greetings, gentle ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Mansa Jamil with the AI Global Legend, and I hope you guys are making it a great day. See who we have here. We got some of the legends loading up, ready for that motivational Thursday, and I can't wait to give you guys Michael Diamond, who's here, ready for you guys. He said he got some information that he want to share with you guys that's gonna transform your life. And he guaranteeing it today, guys. So appreciate you guys joining us. Give us a couple minutes. Let a few more people load up. Let's see here. Mic test. Can you guys hear me okay? Hello, Karen. Who else we have here? Can you guys hear me okay? If you can, just go ahead and type in the chat. You can hear me? Can you guys hear me today? I see yes. So that means yes, you guys can hear me. Michael Diamond, you there?
I'm here, sir. I'm here.
Man, you looking sharper than the Gillette razor blade. There we go.
Thank you, my brother.
Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
This
Thank you,
is
sir.
corporate for real. Let's let a few more people load up here.
Thank you, sir.
Why don't you guys let us know what part of the world you're in so we can give you guys a proper shout out. I see Desiree. Welcome, Desiree from Kentucky. Hello, Desiree. Who else we see here? Karen. Welcome, Karen. Let's see here. Who else? Lolita, welcome to the call. Awesome. Let's just see here. What was that? Michelle? Welcome. All right, guys. Gonna give it a couple more minutes before we get this party started. Give me 1 second. I like this. Crazy. All right. All right, guys. 1 more minute. We're going to kick this party off. I hope you guys got your notepads ready to go. Let's see here. We're going to allow 2 people to hop on the panel here. If you raise your hand, you may be in. Otherwise, sit back and enjoy the show. Yes, we are live, Desiree. We are live. Uh-oh, somebody raised their hand. Karen. Let's bring on Karen on the panel. There you go, Karen. You're coming on live and direct with us. And give it a couple more minutes, or 1 more minute, guys. Then we're going to launch this bad boy. Mike, how's the fires out there in Sacramento? I know you're hot, but how about the fires? Is it steaming up out there? Is it calming down?
Great. It's been okay. It's been crazy. Unfortunately, we haven't had major fires here in Sacramento. They've been down a little bit on the coast. I mean, down the freeway slightly. Napa, Sonoma, that area there. Vacaville. So in the open, T-Town, V-Town.
Okay.
So fortunately, we haven't had. Jay, you've been seeing some fires down your way?
Yeah, there's one over here that was been burning for a couple weeks now, so it looks like it's clearing up. The smoke is clearing up. Still heavy, a little heavy smoke.
Okay.
Mountain, so we're dealing with it. It's not as bad as it used to be. I could have been in Africa by now, but hey, let's go ahead and stick it out with the team. They're out there making movies. But anyway, guys, really appreciate you guys showing up. This is Mansa Jamil with the AI Global Legends. And today is Motivational Thursday with Michael Diamond. Michael Diamond is a motivational speaker. He travels all around the world teaching his motivation, his inspiration, and his wisdom to all types of people all over the world, guys. He's an expert in sales. He's a master coach. This guy is an international motivational speaker, and this guy has changed my life, guys, just by listening to him and implementing some of the tools and the information that he shared with me. Just so much information has impacted my life for the last 20 years, guys. And I can't say too much. Sometimes I'm like, wait a minute, am I really still talking to Michael Diamond here? And hey, Michael Diamond is still here looking sharper than the Gillette razor blade. Diamond, I know you got the suitcase on the side of you, on the right side of you, right there. I know it's over there, and it's a silver suitcase with diamonds going across it. I already know it's there somewhere. You don't got to show me, but I know it's there, man. So without any further ado, guys, Michael Diamond, the one and only. If there's another, he's definitely a phony. Come on in, Michael.
Wow, Master Jamil, thank you once again, man. I'm going to go in the restroom here and just deflate my head just a little bit in the screen. You got me so big right now, Jay. I feel like one of that Goodyear blimp. I might just take off. My head is real out there now. But thank you so much, Master Jamil. I just want to say, first of all, it's such a privilege and pleasure to be here with you guys. And I can share the same, Master Jamil. You're rich. Not only is your name indicative of rich and reflects riches and wealth, your character is the same. I've known you for almost 20 years, and one of the things that jumps out at me when it comes to business and life is consistency. Impresses me. And Master Jamil, you are consistent. You're always vigilant and diligent, in particularly when it comes to the people that have shared their life with you and have trusted us with you. So hats off to you, big ups. I'm really proud of you, little brother. You're doing big things. I'm proud of you. Thank you. Thank you. And now let's just go ahead and jump in. Water's fine. Let's go ahead and jump in. I am so excited to be back with you guys. Karen, I haven't seen you. I feel like it's been forever since I've seen your radiant smile. Oh my gosh, it's so great to see you. I'm so glad to be here. And this is an exception, and I wanted to carry over, started week before last, which was how to discover a larger version of yourself. We all have this vision in mind about a better us and a better life for our families. And so I wanted to elaborate a little further on how to discover a larger version of yourself. It might be that, you want to, lose weight. You might want to earn a little bit more money. You might want to be able to reach more lives and be a greater impact to other people around the world. And so one of the things that I want to talk to you about, specificity, is about discovering a larger version of yourself. And, when I start talking about a larger version of yourself, it all reminds me of J.K. Rollins. Now, J.K. Rollins, people really, particularly don't know her name. When I say J.K. Rollins, many people say to me, who the heck is J.K.? Well, J.K. Rollins was a writer who was struggling. I mean, she was in an abusive marriage, a violent abusive marriage, fostered a child. And like many women can relate to being in a violent or abusive relationship, J.K. Rollins was in that type of relationship where she was in a violent environment. Also, J.K. Rollins was struggling. I mean, she was struggling like most of us have struggled. I mean, because I come from humble beginnings. I can really relate and understand what it's like to have humble beginnings. I mean, there's nothing better than that government cheese and a grilled cheese sandwich and top ramen on a rainy day when you're so broke you can't pay attention. But J.K. Rowling was living that life. She was so broke she couldn't. She was broke. She was in an abusive relationship. She had all these desires and ambitions, and she had all these dreams. A lot like Harriman said, great accomplishment and great dreams belong to great dreamers. Thank God for glorified dreamers. Thank God for glorified gamblers. We wouldn't Golden Gate Bridge. We wouldn't have NFL, or we wouldn't have the NBA if it wasn't for dreamers. We wouldn't have skyscrapers. So J.K. Rowling, she a lot like you, because I like to say that you're only one ideal away from breakthrough. You're one idea, and you've got that idea that's splinter in your mind. It's there and you can't get it out. You know, when you have a splinter, sometimes you get a splinter in your finger, you try to puck it out with something, and a little needle, you're trying to get it out, and you're trying to get, a little needle and dig it out of your fingernail, and you can't get it out. And that's how a great idea, it just won't leave you. And so J.K. Rowling was very similar. J.K. Rowling had this idea that she was going to live this overwhelming life, and that she was going to end the world, and she was going to transform not only her life, but she was going to transform billions of lives around the world. Yet Rowling was broke. J.K. Rowling was in an abusive, violent relationship. And not only was she in an abusive, violent relationship, not only was she on welfare trying to her daughter, not only was she in an abusive relationship, a violent relationship, her mother died on her. See, when you're on your campaign to excellence, you have to expect adversity. And what I like to say is create a mindset, a fortification, a mindset to where you're prepared for adversity. What happens too often is adversity blindsides most people. It blindsides them, and they're just not prepared for it, and they just get like a cross, bam, that just knocks them out, and they're like, I never anticipated this. Well, J.K. Rowling was very similar to that. Like, you may have been blindsided. My recommendation is, from this day forward, never allow yourself to be blindsided by adversity. Prepare for adversity. Just like when you were in elementary, when you were in grade school, they always had fire alarms. They had fire drills. So the fire drill was designed so that a fire would not catch the student teachers by surprise. The design that we learned as a child was to prepare for adversity. It's just that when we get older, we stop holding our fire drills in life. So like J.K. Rowling, she's very much like you and myself. She really didn't have a fire drill until, like myself, 20 years ago, I started really, really emphasizing on my fire drills. So anyway, J.K. Rowling was a lot like you. She was, ambitious. She fighting her way through life. Only, again, not only all the hassles, again, to reiterate, she was in an abusive marriage. She was in a violent, abusive marriage, ended up getting a divorce. She was on welfare, raising her child. She was so broke she couldn't pay attention. Then her mother died. She had adversity after adversity. J.K. Rowling is noted for saying she had a very low self-esteem. She really had to fight with her self-esteem. And I just want to stop there for a second, because we all have to fight with esteem. From LeBron James practicing championship habits down to the everyday guy that's just on working at Wall, we all have to fight with self-esteem. So J.K. Rowling, here she was, a violent relationship, went through a divorce, had a child, she's unwell, she's broke, she's struggling, her mom dies, and she's going through it. I mean, she's had adversity after adversity until she broke big. It wasn't until she hit big and became a billionaire, the first billionaire author, when she started out with The Hobbits, and when she started coming out with all of the great stories that she was developing. I mean, she developed so many awesome stories. It was amazing. I mean, she had so many great stories. She changed the world and started transforming the world. She had so great ideas. When she dropped her great ideas, Harry Potter, when she came out with the Harry Potter series, the Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, that's J.K. Rowling. If you didn't know who J.K. Rowling was, J.K. Rowling is the writer of Harry Potter. and Harry Potter transformed her life. But J.K. Rowling had this whole concept that she would write all these stories. So I want you to remember that no matter how bad it looks or bad it gets, I want you to say this with me, and I want you to say it with conviction. And like J.K. Rowling, she was broke. She was in an abusive marriage. She was in a marriage. Her mother died. She went through a divorce, but she continued to move forward. And J.K. Rowling was noted for operating under this premises. No matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. And that was J.K. Rowling's conviction, that no matter how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. Now say that with me. No matter how bad it is,
No matter
how bad it gets,
I'm
going to make it. J.K. Rowling, nobody knew who J.K. Rowling is. Now J.K. Rowling is a multi-billionaire. She lives this extraordinary life. You're going to. She lives this life of supulence and abundance, but it wasn't always that way. And the point that I'm making here that I want to emphasize with you is that you might be in one of those stages that J.K. Rowling was in. Because again, as before I drop her name, most don't know who J.K. Rowling is. And J.K. Rowling, she did the Harry Potter series and the Hobbit and all the different stories that followed the Harry Potter stories. And the Harry Potter stories transformed the world because it allowed people to get into their imagination. And I want you to remember that your memory is so that you can learn experience and track your experiences and track life. Your imagination is to paint your future. And J.K. Rowling lived in her imagination, even though she was in a violent relationship, even though she was in a violent marriage, even though she divorced, even though she was on welfare and she was so broke she couldn't pay attention. She was raising a daughter by herself. And I understand that single parent. I raised kids by myself. Their mom passed. And so I had that tenacious experience raising kids by myself. And I had a situation where I had 4 kids that I was raising, and I was working like the Dickens. I was working like 12-hour days. So I can relate to J.K. Rowling like I can relate to you, because I know that you've had some J.K. Rowling moments. It reminds me of a situation and a story that I was in before I launched my mortgage corporations. Before I launched my mortgage corporations, I worked at a named Ameriquest. And Ameriquest was doing $1 billion a month. And I had never been a part of an organization that was doing $1 billion a month. And that just inspired me. And I had become the #1 top producer. Again, as I shared with you, as Mansa Jamil mentioned, I've been the #1 top in 3 multi-million-dollar corporations. I've been the #1 top producer in 3 multi-billion-dollar corporations. And I live under this premises that consistency and press when it comes down to business, maintaining a mindset of excellence and etching out the parameters and the boundaries of who you want to become. See, to discover a larger version of yourself, you got to live into your imagination, and you've got to expand the boundaries of your limitation. You got to expand the boundaries. I want you to understand that when you push yourself beyond your boundaries, when you push yourself beyond your current boundaries and you self-impose limitations. You see, the limitations in your life, you have to understand that the limitations in your life are imposed. So I want you to grasp that. Write that down. All of my limitations in my life are self-imposed. Most people think that for some reason, maybe it's my job. I just don't earn enough money. Maybe it was where I was brought up. Or, my dad abused me, or I was molested as a child, and so I just can't really do better. I really can't. I never had those big breaks. No, you have the ability to transform your life wherever you are. You have the ability to shatter through your glass ceiling because your glass ceiling is self-imposed. So when I was launching mortgage companies, I didn't have the resources. So what I want you to do is I want you to get past having the resources, because you literally have all the resources that you need in your mouth, because your mouth is the actual foundation on which everything has been created. Everything that we understand as reality and everything that we understand as physical, tangible, most of us believe that this one sentence, God said, let there be light, and there was light. Now, if you operate under that as truth, if you take that premises as truth, then our Maker flushed in an era of light by speaking it into existence. Also in Proverbs, it says that the power of life and death is in your mouth. And so I learned that the hard way. It's like J.K. Rowlins. J.K. Rowlins was in a violent relationship, a violent marriage, but she kept saying that one day I'm going to influence the world. Kept saying one day I'm going to transform the world. She kept seeing herself, a larger version of herself. She kept seeing a larger version of herself. And one of the principles of discovering a larger version of yourself, and I want you to write this down, one of the main keys, one of the solidities to transforming your life and discovering a larger version of yourself is controlling, maintaining, and commitment to a positive action. No matter what happens in your life, you find a silver lining in it. If somebody slams into the back of your car, and you're just that, if no one's injured, the one thing you hold on to is thank God nobody lost their life. Thank God nobody died. Always find the positiveness about every situation, like J.K. Rowlins used to do. J.K. Rowlins was noted for saying that no matter what the situation was, after she had her moment, she had a silver lining. So I want you to make sure that no matter what you do, you find a silver lining in every situation, because every situation has every challenge. Some people call it problems. I want you to note that. I want you to make an adjustment from calling problems to challenges, because a different chemical is released in your mind when you say the word challenge as opposed to problem. When you say the word problem, it's apprehensive. It's if you're in a relationship, as soon as you say to someone, hey, I got a problem I want to discuss with you, first thing they do is get defensive. Problem, oh my God, what's the problem? All right, what's the problem here? When you say, hey, I got a small challenge I need to deal with, they're like, challenge? What's the challenge? I'm freaking up for that challenge. I'm ready. What do you want to do? I'm ready for the challenge. So you got to understand that little tweaks like that, you're only a centimeter away. We talked about that. A centimeter away of transformation. So J.K. Rowlins was noted for saying, I'm up for the challenge. I'm up for the challenge. I can do this. I want you to incorporate that in your life, that you're up for the challenge, that you can do this, that you can make this happen. So sustaining a positive attitude. I know that in some of my worst moments in my life, and Mansa Jamil can attest to it, and those that know me, even in my worst moments, in the most challenging times of my life, those that know me, I have a doctor friend that knows me. She's been knowing me for 30 plus years, and she says to me, Michael, you have the most positive attitude I've ever met. I mean, you're always in a good mood no matter what. And sometimes I could be having the worst situation happen to me, like when my son got hit by a car. My son got hit by a car. I got a phone call. I was doing campaign management down in the. Well, I got this emergency phone call, and I ran to the phone. They said, "Are you Mr. Diamond?" I said, "Yes, I am." Well, we got a kid out here in a blood. Now the kid got hit by a car and he's in a puddle of blood. You need to get down here. First thing I said was, "Wait a minute. I'm like a Kool-Aid dad. I mean, all the kids around my house all the time, they're like, I don't care if you're a Kool-Aid dad or not. I'm calling you to tell you, everybody says it's your kid and there's a puddle of blood out here and you need to get down here." While I was on my way there, my mind was under attack. Like, am I hollering at y'all? Let me, wait a minute. I'm getting excited. But my mind was under attack. I mean, I was taking blows. My mind was wrestling like your mind might be wrestling, going through some of the worst times in your life. And I was praying on the freeway as I was running down that freeway. And I kept believing God. I kept believing God that my son is going right. I kept charging angels to minister unto him, that he would not be a vegetable, that he would not. So what the point I'm making in that short story was how bad it is or how bad it gets, you're going to make it. I know that we're in tumultuous times right now with COVID-19, with over 85,000, 186,000 souls that have been lost. We're in economic challenges, but I don't want you to allow that to get in your spirit. I live under this philosophy, and I want you to write this down as your number 2. You're controlling your attitude. You're making sure that to discover a larger version of yourself, you got a clear attitude. And number 2, you got to remember, it's not what happens to you, it's what you let happen inside you. You know, many people have suffered abuse, and not that I'm insensitive to it, please, but I'm just giving some examples. People have experienced some horrific things. And many people that I have spoken to, that situation that happened to them got inside them. And when it got inside them, it was their perception of what happened inside of them that began to pollute them. It's like meeting somebody with a bad attitude. A bad attitude, a car with 4 flats. It ain't going nowhere until you fix them. You got to have a positive attitude, and you got to make sure that your conscience is of, it's not what's to me, it's what I let happen inside me. And although that may have happened to me, it didn't happen inside of me. That's what happened. Interpretation is, that is just a circumstance and a situation that I will overcome. I shall overcome this situation. Just like J.K., she was in a violent domestic relationship, marriage, got a divorce, was so broke she couldn't pay attention. She was raising a single child. Her mother died. She had situation after situation. And then she dropped Harry Potter and her whole life. Now, she could have let the violent relationship stop everything that was momentous in her life. So that's why I say you have to have a positive, and it's not what happens to you, it's what you let happen inside you. So you've got to remember that even though it's happening to you, you cannot let it happen inside. It gets inside you. You just discern it and say, yes, that's what happened, but I'm going to maintain a positive attitude, and I'm going to stay positive no matter what the situation is. So I kind of bounced around a bit, but I want to get into when I was launching the 3 mortgage companies. When I was launching the mortgage companies, I was working for another organization, but like J.K. Rowling, I kept seeing myself, this larger version of myself, larger version of myself. And so what I learned is when you push yourself beyond your boundaries, I kept pushing myself beyond my current boundary in my mind. I kept seeing myself in my mind owning the business. I kept seeing myself in my mind develop a version of myself, becoming more of myself than I did. At the time, I wasn't that person, just like J.K. Rowling. When J.K. was in a violent marriage, an abusive marriage, when she got a divorce, she wasn't the billionaire she is now. She was like you, like me. She was on her journey. So while you're on your journey, remember that you have to first positive attitude. So no matter what happens to you, you're sustaining a positive attitude. You are not going to let anybody rob your positive attitude. I don't care if somebody jumps you in traffic, you're in a grocery store, somebody calls you an SOB, or you're in a relationship and somebody has a bad attitude, you have to just let it go. You have to, the rainbow in every situation. That's how winners have to make it. That's how you see those pros when they get upset or they have somebody foul them, a flagrant. They have to have a short memory and let it go. Kobe Bryant was noted for saying all the time, short memory, got to have a short memory. Somebody fouls you, forget about it. Bad attitude can become a septic tank in your heart and in your spirit and spoil the whole well. And then also you got to remember, it's not what happens inside you. Now, thirdly, like J.K. Rowling, you have to understand that you have to keep seeing a bigger version of yourself. And I'm not talking about if you're in, you got to keep seeing yourself at 160. But if you want to be 160 and you're 100 and you're 110, then you need to see yourself at 160. And J.K. Rowling, you have to keep saying it. You have to see it and then keep saying it. That I'm going to transform the world. I'm going to transform the world. You've gained a good attitude and you've got a great attitude, and you've got to remember that it's not what happens to you, it's what you let happen inside you. And then you have to solidify your seeing. So when I was building the mortgage companies, as I was working for someone else, like you might be working for someone else, as I was working for a multi-billion corporation, like you might be working for a multi-billion-dollar corporation, you might be working in a situation where you work for another, you're an employee, but you have these aspirations like J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling was working for someone else before she dropped Harry Potter. First, she was on welfare. She was working little odd jobs. What are the odds of someone in an abusive, violent relationship, getting a divorce, on welfare, rape parent, mother dies, tragedy after tragedy, becoming a billionaire? That's optimism at its highest peak. So you have to remember, and J.K. Rowling, she was noted for being optimistic in her worst situations. But as I said earlier, there were times I had a very low self-esteem. So when you get in a low self-esteem and you're really feeling bad about yourself, because it really happens, it happens to a lot of us. We all deal with self-esteem. You got to learn to encourage yourself. You got to learn your vision and your dream has got to be bigger than the sock in your stomach. I like this story of Buster Douglas. Buster Douglas was this boxer. He was like a no-name has-been boxer. And he was fighting Mike Tyson. Mike in the prime of his career. And he was fighting this guy named Buster Douglas. And Buster Douglas, his mother had died. And his mother died. He promised that he would become the heavyweight champion of the world. And Buster Douglas was like a no-namer. And he got this fight with Mike Tyson. And I think at last they brought in Buster Douglas to fight Mike Tyson. Now, Mike Tyson had this one-punch knockout. Mike Tyson was notorious for knocking people out in the first. Now, Mike Tyson, most people feared him, and he was this ferocious beast of a fighter. If you knew Mike Tyson in his heyday, you were nervous to get into Mike Tyson. I'm going to tell you right now, because Mike Tyson had a combo. Mike Tyson had a combo, and I'm not talking about a supersized burger and fry combo. Okay, we talking about a left and a right that would knock you out. Now, don't nobody try to bring me no hamburgers or French fries, because I ain't talking about that kind of combo. But Mike was fighting Buster Douglas, and Buster Douglas got it in his spirit that no matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm gonna make it. I'll be the heavyweight champion of the world. And that's what you got to get in your spirit. And Mike Tyson, when it took Buster Douglas, like, who the heck is this Buster? I'm gonna beat him down. That's how life might be looking at you. My life is looking at you like it's gonna eat you like lunch. Now, life can be I think that life is a beautiful thing. Again, perception is my reality. Perception is your reality. Perception is the gateway to greatness. Buster Douglas, his conviction to become the heavyweight champion of the world was greater than the punch that life throws. Now, Mike Tyson, this fight was ferocious. Mike Tyson was taking it to him. I mean, Mike Tyson was giving Buster Douglas everything he had. In fact, Mike Tyson, about the 8th or 9th round, knocked Buster Douglas down. And they had the count going. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. And Buster Douglas stood up. Because your get-ups got to be bigger than your knockdown. There's got to be a side of you that's bigger than your knockdown, because you're going to experience knockdown every day. Every day there's going to be something designed specific to you. You know, something is designed specifically for you. Either it's somebody at the grocery store, it's going to be some patient, something that seems to be, now it isn't always that way, but it seems to be designed just for you. Like he catches you right at that moment in your life when that one word, that one expression is enough to just send you over the top. So your commitment to excellence, The fight, the get up and fight in you's got to be bigger than the knockdowns that are going to come in your life. We'll make a commitment to excellence. But like J.K. Rowling, who dropped and became a billionaire with the Harry Potter stories, she went through a relationship, violent marriage, went through a divorce, single parent, on welfare, raising her daughter, mother died. But up inside of her was bigger than the knockdowns of life. Buster Douglas got knocked down and got up on the count of 9 and beat Mike Tyson down. Mike Tyson beat Mike Tyson so bad, Mike Tyson was hanging on the ropes. His mouthpiece was hanging out. And with Mike Tyson fans like me, we was like, oh, Mike, poor Mike, man, come on. The whole world watched Mike Tyson get beat down by Buster, because your get-ups got to be bigger than your knockdown. You've got to be stronger than your knockdown, because you've got to be stronger than your that are going to come against you. You've got to get up. If you get knocked down once, you got to get back up. If you get knocked down twice, you got to get up. If you get knocked down 3 times, what am I going to tell you? You got to get back up. If you get knocked down 4 times, what am I going to tell you? You get back up. If you get knocked down 5 times, what am I going to tell you? You got to get back up, like J.K. Rowling, like Buster Douglas. You've got to get back up. Now, when I was building the mortgage companies, I didn't have the resources. And that's what stopped people from moving forward, because most people, they only move forward when they have tangible resources that solidifies their truth. Like, it's like making a sandwich. I want to make a bologna sandwich. Well, I don't have no bologna. You got to be like me. When I was a kid, we made sugar sandwiches. We were so broke. We made sugar sandwiches. We'd run home, couldn't wait to get home, racing home to the refrigerator to get in there in the refrigerator, sound like a cave. Hello, 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 hello. There was nothing in there. And when we did have a bologna sandwich, oh my gosh, that was a treasure, like lobsters, okay? So anyway, you have to understand that you've got to be able to move forward without the resources. That's one of the things. And I want you to write this one down, and I probably had you write it down again, but I want you to understand that one of the biggest keys of success is repetition and consistency. And that is that if you can see the invisible, you can do the impossible. Like J.K. Rowling, before she's the Harry Potter, she could see the invisible. If you can see the invisible, you can do the impossible. What is it that you see? So I could see the mortgage companies. I could see them in my mind. And now I started saying it. I started telling people I'm about to open up my own mortgage company. I mean, I did all the little things. I got my license. I was out looking for a place, and I didn't even have the money for the place. I was out looking for a place I was going to rent for my mortgage office, my first mortgage office. I didn't even have the money. See, it takes courage. If you're going to make it, you got to have a sustained attitude, a positive attitude. You got to remember that it's not what happens to you, but what happens inside. Remember that no matter what happens to you, you make sure something positive happens inside you. Because there's a saying that if it don't kill you, it's going to make you strong. So you got to have a positive attitude. You got to make sure that it's not what happens to you, but what happens in you. You got to be committed. You got to be committed. You got to be committed to that your conviction to your vision's got to be bigger than your knockdowns. So that no matter how many times you get knocked down, back up. And then you've got to make sure that you can see the invisible. Because if you can see the invisible, you can do the impossible. And then you've got to make sure that you're willing to move forward without resources. You've got to be willing to move forward without resources. And you've got to be committed. You've got to understand that when you push yourself beyond your boundaries and your current self-imposed limitations, you'll discover a larger of yourself. So I pushed myself beyond my self-imposed limitations and my boundaries. I kept pushing myself. I was negotiate with people. So when people love people with a vision, I started explaining my vision to people and explaining to them that, listen, if you with me, if you help me, oftentimes you don't get help because you don't ask for it. You have not because you ask not. You got to ask for help. When you're in a situation, it reminds me of a story when I was in campaign management, when I was doing fundraising for the Democratic Party. One of the bigwigs came out of Washington, D.C. to witness what I was accomplishing. They wanted to be able to duplicate what I was accomplishing. And they had me work a multiplicity of files. I was working on Senator John Kerry of Massachusetts fundraising, Dianne Feinstein, Barbara Boxer, all these great, I was working on their accounts. So they sent someone from Washington, D.C. to see, what was he doing? How was he getting this success? I was not only speaking my success, I was creating my success by what I was saying. But I'll never forget, after an amazing night of success, the big wig from DC to the side and said, hey, you did a great job tonight. Come on over here. I want to talk to you. And in that, he said, listen, you did a great job tonight, but I want to write you up. And I was like, why are you writing me up? You said I did a great job. And, why would you do that? Why would you write me up? And he said, well, listen, I stood here all night and you never once asked for help. So in my opinion, you're squandering resources. So I want you to look around and find every resource that's at your disposal and ask for help. Don't become this island and this individual and you're going to pull it off by yourself. No, great success is a team project. So you've got to make sure that you're for help. You might say, well, my husband doesn't want to get involved. My wife doesn't want to get involved. My kids don't want to get involved. Well, ask them. And it's not, my mom used to have this saying, you can just about get anything you want in life. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Now, I want to talk about when I launched my business. Like I said, I came from that position to my own office, to my own business. But it only happened, I was employing this principle that I maintained a positive attitude. I no matter what happened to me, I operated under the premises. It wasn't what happened to me, but what I was going to allow happen inside me. I made a commitment that I was going to, no matter what happened, no matter how bad it is or how bad it, I'm going to make it. My get up was bigger than whatever knockdown came in my life. And that I kept speaking that reality into existence, kept framing and pushing I kept pushing the boundaries and the limits of my ability. I kept seeing myself further than I was. Essential when you're discovering a larger version of yourself. You've got to keep seeing yourself in a larger version of who you are. Like J.K. Rowling, she kept seeing her transforming the world, no matter how depressed she got, going through the divorce, being in a violent relationship, being, beaten, being back on welfare, raising her daughter, her mother dying. No matter what happened, J.K. Rowling, she kept seeing a larger version of yourself. So you keep seeing a larger version of yourself. And you've got to see it and you've got to say it. You've got to have the tenacity to say it. Because once you say it, it gives, you can fantasize and dream about what you want to accomplish most of your life. But when you say it, there's a sense of obligation. It becomes real when you start talking about it. And then when you write it down, it becomes real. It becomes tangible. It is scheduled. It is real. So you've got to see it like J.K. Rowling. You've got to say it like I was doing it. And then you've got to believe it in your spirit. You've got to start believing it. So I started saying I was going to own my own mortgage company. I mean, was earning $1 billion every month. And I said, well, Lord, if they can earn $1 billion a month, surely I can earn $100,000 a month. So, and I want to put this in there because some of you might be going through issues with your grandchildren. You might be going through issues with your finances. You might be fighting your worst battle right now. And don't think that I'm insensitive to it, because I really know what it's like to be so broke you can't pay attention. I know what it's like to have no resources whatsoever. I know what it's like to have 4 kids at the house and all I'm earning is $569.69 every 2 weeks trying to take care of 4. Can you imagine that? $569.69 every 2 weeks, and I've got 4 kids, and the rent is $625. Take $569.69. You take out the taxes on that paycheck. I'm bringing home some $480, $500 on a lucky windy day, maybe. And the rent is $625. I mean to tell you that I was buying groceries by miracle money. I don't know, the money stretched. It was all God. But I want to say this. Sometimes you just got to fall back on God. Sometimes you just got to fall back, because his all-sufficiency is more than capable of superseding all natural events. So you've got to lean on God. And then you've got to understand that, like Nelson Mandela, we talked about Nelson Mandela. At 44 years old, he was arrested on Trump charges and spent 27 years in prison. Didn't get out of prison until he was 71. His nickname was Madiba. And he was in prison for 27 years. And this is where it solidifies this philosophy and principle. That it's not what happens to you, it's what happens inside you. Most people go to jail for 6 months. They're as bitter as they can be. Alcoholic, drugs, what have you. They're just angry. It's not what happens to you, it's what you let happen inside you. Madiba, Nelson Mandela, 27 years being interviewed while he was in prison. They said, you've got to be bitter, you've got to be angry, that you were a lawyer, you didn't do anything, they had trumped up, you've got to be upset with the system. He said, actually, I'm grateful that I'm locked up, because it actually allowing me to actually discover who I am. What? Who? What? No, that solidifies the driving home to you. It's not what happens to you, it's what you let happen inside you. You construct what happens inside you. You construct what you're going to interpret as to what occurs in your life. He ended up saying that by being in prison, it allowed him to really discover a lot of himself. While in prison, he could see himself being ruler over the nation. While in prison, he could see himself being president of South. While in prison, he became to perfect himself, perfect his vocabulary, perfect his feelings, understand the fact of his mind. And that's what I did. I didn't have the resources, like you might not have the resources. I kept pushing the boundaries of who I want to become. I kept seeing it in my mind, like Nelson Mandela, like Madiba. I kept doing like J.K. Rowling. I kept calling those things that be not as though they. I kept believing the best. And I kept believing that I was bigger. My dream was bigger than my knockdowns. I kept getting knocked down. I kept getting no. And I kept speaking it into existence, that I'll own my own mortgage company. I can do this. I can make this happen. And there were moments, times in my life that I had to ask myself, Michael, can you do this? Diamond, can you pull this off? You telling everybody you're about to be on television, you're going to get your own radio show, you're going to open up your own mortgage company. Even now, right now, our vision is to reach 1 billion young lives, love, hope, and encouragement. To reach 1 billion young lives through love, hope, and encouragement is a very difficult task. My worldwide television, worldwide radio show. You've got to be willing to step out in faith and call those things that be not as though they were. I shared it with you before, Romans 15. Even God, you're in good company when you do it. So don't feel crazy. Don't let anybody make you feel stupid. Romans 4:17 says, even God who quickeneth the dead and calleth those things that be not as though they were. So you call those things that be not as though they were. You sustain a positive attitude no matter what the situation. You keep fighting. You sustain a positive attitude. You do like Nelson Mandela. It's not what happens to you, it's what happens inside you. You make sure that your get up and your vision is bigger than your knockdown. No matter how times you get knocked down, like Buster Douglas, you get back up and you keep calling those things that be not as though they were. And you keep pushing the boundaries of reality and discover a larger version of yourself. I want you to repeat this affirmation to yourself with me. Know, accept, and that I know and accept, and I am true to myself. I know, accept, and that I'm true to myself. You've got to be true to yourself. Buster Douglas was true to himself. No matter how bad Mike Tyson was welling on that boy. Mike Tyson was hitting that guy with some haymakers. I mean, Mike Tyson was hitting that man with haymakers. I mean, he hit Buster Douglas so hard, we all thought we saw his head fly into like the 5th row. Mike Tyson hit that man so hard, and life is going to you. Life is going to hit you so hard. I don't know why. It's not fair, but life's going to hit you in your stomach so hard, and you got to get back up. And then you got to kill those things that be not as though they were. But you got to know, accept, and be true to yourself. And then you've got to learn from your mistakes. You've got to be willing to learn from your mistakes. They say that doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, is the definition of insanity. And I recently had that experience with myself when I went and I bought this ice cream, okay? It's my ice cream story. All right, I'm coming clean. My cream puff license. I did it. I'm guilty. All right, I went down and got some ice cream, and I lied to myself and said, I'm just going to eat a little bit of it. That's all. Eat a little bit. And I'm just going to have a tad bit, that much. How about that? A little bit. I'm going to have a couple of scoops. Okay, you know that I ate the whole darn thing. Okay, I'm sitting on the side of the bed, and there I am. There I am with the pint of ice cream, and I'm like this kid. I got ice cream around my mouth, and there's nobody to bust me, okay? So I'm sitting there by myself, and I'm looking around like, I wonder if anybody. And so I had to just eventually say, you know what? I'm not even responsible enough to buy no big thing of ice cream. So, because I know I might eat the whole thing. You be true to yourself. You've got to discover a larger version of yourself. You got to be willing to be true to yourself. Now, when I don't even go down to ice cream, I don't even go there. I know the ice cream aisle be calling me like, Diamond, come get me. I'm an ice cream, sexy ice cream. I'm like, no, you're not. I'm not going. I don't care. Ice cream be like, ooh, 36, 38. I'm like, no, don't be trying to be all sexy. No. I got to be true to myself because I know if I get that ice cream home and ain't nobody around, I'm subject to eat the whole thing. So you got to be true to yourself. You can't buy 5 bags of potato chips and swear to yourself you're not going to eat them. There's a large possibility. So you got to be true to yourself, and you got to understand. You got to get this down in your spirit like J.K. Rowling. And I want to wrap with this. You've got to understand that the best is yet to come. Say that with me. The best is yet to come.
The best is yet to come.
Get it down. The best is yet to come. You've got to get that in your spirit that the best is yet to come. J.K. Rowling, she was in an abusive relationship. J.K. Rowling was in a violent marriage. She was getting beaten. J.K. Rowling, her mother died. She went through a divorce. Her mother died. She was welfare. She was on welfare. That's demeaning for people that have been working and trying to take care of their families. She was on welfare. It's tough to be a woman, period. I mean, women are the most amazing creatures. But to be a woman, you're nurturing, you're trying to take care of this man, and here he is beating you and cheating on you and abusive, and he's an alcoholic. I mean, she went through it. Then her mother died. She got a divorce, but she kept believing that the best is yet to come. Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison, and he kept believing the best is yet to come. Nelson Mandela Matiba became president of the first president of South Africa apartheid, and then accolade after accolade after accolade after 27 agonizing years in prison. But remember, your circumstances, they are self-imposed. You create what happens, not what happens to you, but what happens inside you. Now I want you to say, never let it rest. Get this, never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best. Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. You go from good to better to best. From good to better to best. Never rest until your good is better and your better is best. And I want to say this lastly as I wrap up. I ended up getting the mortgage companies. I ended up moving forward. I ended up getting up every time I was knocked down. I kept remembering that never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. You got to remember to accept yourself as the champion and accept others as they are. Because if you will let your light shine, others will transform as you do. Don't waste valuable energy and time trying to change other people. Focus on transforming yourself. And as you transform yourself, it will transform others. Because people cannot remain in the dark if you represent light. People cannot remain in the dark if you represent light. Nice. People cannot stay in the dark. People cannot remain in the dark if you represent the light. Let your light shine. Represent excellence. You work on you. It's nothing like being at church or hearing service and think to yourself, oh, so-and-so needs to be here for this service. I mean, this service, I wish so-and-so was hearing this message. No, this message is for you. You make sure that you listen to this, you get this into your spirit, know and accept that you're true to yourself. Remember that, never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. Accept yourself, see the best in yourself, say it, believe it, and receive it. That's the fundamental that I've been teaching you, like J.K. Rowling. She could see it, she began to say it, she believed it, she dropped Harry Potter and became all that she was to be. Nelson Mandela had 44 years an attorney, at the prime of his life was arrested on Trump charges. Matiba spent 27 years in prison and became South Africa's apartheid, crushed apartheid and became the president, first president of South Africa. There is nothing in your way but you. It's time for you to discover a larger version of yourself. It's time for you to shatter. Malik, this is for you. It's time for you to shatter through your glass ceiling. It's time for you to reach into the lion's mouth. It's time for you to take what belongs to you. I'm here to tell you it's time for you to play a bigger game. It's time for you to shatter your glass ceiling. It's time for you to reach in the lion's mouth and take what belongs to you. Be courageous. Know that you're capable. Know that it's possible. It's time to play a bigger game, and I'll see you in the winner's circle. My name is Michael Diamond. I'm president of International Training Company, #1 top producer in 3 multi-million-dollar corporations, #1 top producer in 3 multi-billion-dollar corporations. I'm telling you, whatever it is that you aspire to, it's possible. It's time for you to live your dream. And I'll see you in the winner's circle.
Wow. That was powerful, guys. That's Michael Diamond, guys. So I hope you guys had your pen and pad, because, oh my gosh, I have mine, and I was writing down those gems. But you know what? I remember one of the training sessions with Michael Diamond, his famous thing was he used to always show some little video clips of what he was referring to. And I just had to pull up this quick little video clip for you guys, and I want to share with you guys really quick, talking about Mike Tyson and Buster Douglas, guys. So here we go.
Just another day at work for Mike Tyson. He looks almost bored as they call to the center of the ring by the referee. The stage is set. We're set to go. Bob Sheridan here. You see Mike Tyson in the black trunks traditional and Buster Douglas. He's got it back together in the late portion here. Raising left hand, chopping right, misses. Uppercut landed by Mike Tyson. That's one of the few uppercuts he's landed in the fight. We've been looking for that all night. Oh, that's a nice uppercut that time. That drops Buster Douglas. Fairly clear. It's up to 7 and 8. And here it is at 9. Is he going to get up? Yes, he does.
Have to get back up. Get back up.
He get back up. How many times you get knocked down?
And that's the Mike Tyson we've been looking for all night. So no matter what happens, we give a lot of credit to Buster Douglas for making this a big, big fight. Tyson trying to end it with one big shot again. He's down, he comes with the uppercut. Somehow or other, Buster's throwing shots back. Hey, look at this. Look at Buster coming back. Did he buckle the lights of Mike? I don't know. He got him again. Oh, nice uppercut by Buster Douglas. Look at this. He's knocked Mike Tyson down for the first time in his career. Mike Tyson hits the canvas. He's in big trouble. He may not be able to recover. It's up to 7 and 8. He doesn't
give up, Pierce.
Unbelievable. Buster Douglas is a new heavyweight champion of the world.
That's what you have to do. You have to get back up and keep down and keep fighting. No matter how bad it is, how bad it is, I'm going to make it. He knocked Mike Tyson out. That's what I'm talking about, Jay. That's I love you for that. I love you for that, Jay. I love you for that, Master Jamil. That's exactly what I was talking about.
That's exactly
no matter how bad it is or how bad it is, I'm going to make it. And when he got knocked down, I want to point this out. It's not what happens to you. It's what happens inside you. That's when the champion came alive in him. He got knocked down by Mike Tyson. By all other means, the fight was over. Anybody else. And when life knocks you down, and it's going to knock you down, I got a saying. When the end finds you, don't let it find you. Let it find you climbing a new mountain and not sliding down an old one. Mike Tyson knocked that boy down and he got back up and brought it to him. And that's what you do in life. When life knocks you down, you get aggressive and you bring it to it. Master Jamil, I love you for that, little bro. I love you. That was it. That was it right there. That's it. You stopped and you finished that fight. Man, you finished that fight. You finished that fight because it's not what happens to you. It's what happens inside you. Wow. Wow. I'm proud of you guys. I'm proud of you. I'm counting on you. You're going to have the best year that you've ever had. Master Jamil, Karen, I love you. Haven't seen you in a while. We'll see you next week. I'll see you in the winner's circle. It's time to play a bigger game.
Trump dummy, Trump dummy, Trump dummy.